This is Lewis, and this is going to be my Patreon video for February, and so I will read off the top supporters of my channel, and that would be Winnie C, Fat Cat, FarSquawk, and the legendary Zoltan! Thanks to all of you that support my channel, and hope you enjoy the video.
Do you believe in equal pay?
Well, I made the argument there. It's like it depends on who defines it.
So you don't believe in equal pay?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Because a lot of people listening to you will just say, I mean, are we going back to the dark ages?
That's because they're actually not listening. They're
I'm
just
listening very
projecting
carefully,
what
and
they
I'm
think.
hearing you basically saying women need to just accept they're never going to make it on equal terms. Equal outcomes is how you defined it.
No, I didn't say that.
If I was a young woman watching that, I would go, well, I might as well just go and play with my Cindy dolls and give up trying at school because I'm not going to get the top job I want because there's someone sitting there saying it's not possible and it's not desirable, it's going to make you miserable.
Desirable. That's what I said. It's a bad social goal. I didn't say that women shouldn't be striving for the top or anything like that, because I don't believe that for a second.
Striving for the top, but you're going to put all those hurdles in their way, as has been in their way for centuries, and that's fine. You're saying that's fine.
No, I really
the
think
patriarchal system is just fine.
That's silly. I do. I think that's silly. I really do. I mean, look at your situation. You're hardly unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I have battled quite hard to get where I've got to.
Good.
So that's okay. Battling is good. This is all about the fight.
It's inevitable.
But you talk about men fighting. I mean, let me just put another thing to you from the book.
Why wouldn't you have to battle for a high-quality position?
So this is Lewis, and for today I thought I would touch on the current surging popularity of Professor Jordan Peterson. For the last few months, I honestly thought that Peterson's popularity had peaked. I assumed that his recently released book would be a bestseller, that he would continue to make six figures annually on Patreon, and that he would continue to do the rounds on an assortment of podcasts. But since his interview with Cathy Newman, he has once again managed to increase his notoriety. To summarize the Channel 4 interview, it was an unmitigated disaster for Newman and made Peterson look masterful in live discussion.
And I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha, gotcha.
For the sake of covering already well-known material, I'm going to skip past the interview itself and Peterson's post-interview analysis because despite it being entertainment, it's old news by now. What I want to cover instead is the direct response by verified leftist journos from the regressive corporate left outlets that now see Peterson as a serious target for them. Peterson, from my perspective, has reached the point of being a dangerous public intellectual to the regressive left, what I would classify as the bourgeois left. The snarky verified types that aren't millionaires themselves but have the shallow attitude that you would expect from the spoiled child of a millionaire. Say what you want to about Sam Harris, and I do have problems with his derangement towards Trump, but he, unlike many public figures, has been infamously demonized by the press. The reason why is the threat they believe he poses as a public intellectual to their own movement or agenda, depending on what level of maliciousness you want to assign to their motivations. Peterson has been pilloried by the press before, but I am seeing a shift in the winds, and obviously not for the better. If Peterson continues to be a dominant public figure, I believe what was done to Harris will eventually happen to Peterson. That doesn't mean it will be as effective, but it does mean a narrative will be created, argued in lockstep, and maintained regardless of the consequences. Some of the early warning signs are a series of smear pieces from a slew of bourgeois progressive outlets that I'm not bothering with, and professional attack videos, which I will be covering. An attack video is a professionally made interview or monologue that is structured to specifically demonize and dismiss an ideological opponent. This is not some guy on YouTube with a microphone and an opinion. This is a video created by a so-called journalist from a publication with the production quality of an entire team. There is no way to defend your behavior and any erroneous information you spread when a dozen or more eyes view your content before your employer publishes it. To knowingly produce that kind of dishonest propaganda is indefensible. I could be wrong in every goddamn video I make and have no clue to that fact because I have no one to rely on but viewers to consider what I've said. But when you are professionally working for a publication with an entire team looking over the content you're producing, there's no excuse to be brazenly wrong in just about everything you assert. For today, I want to cover two of these attack videos, one only briefly, as to what they have to offer against Peterson.
I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run.
This is the far-right's new philosopher superstar.
So let's take note of one phrase just mentioned.
This is the far-right's new philosopher superstar.
Far-right as a label for Peterson based on his audience, which by all appearances encompasses everyone but the far left. There's obviously more than one reason why people like Jordan Peterson, but the main reason I think far leftists hate him is his total rejection of social constructivism. Social constructivism being a fancy esoteric argument for tabula rasa, or an individual being a blank slate who derives everything good and everything bad based on society or culture, which is demonstrably false. Culture and society does influence people to some extent, but it doesn't hold a candle to the impact of genetics and biology. If something as extreme and serious as psychopathy can be explained genetically, it doesn't matter how much Marxist circle jerking you do, you can't get around violent behavior being a possible inherited trait. The fact is that I'm not saying that we're all slaves to our biological imperatives and our inherited genes, but I am saying that this disproves everything that is social constructivism. Being exposed to Japanese culture may make you want to fuck East Asians, but simply wanting to have sex doesn't come from culture, it comes from biology. Jordan Peterson is making this argument, and that threatens the totalitarian sentiment of social constructivists, which represents the totality of those on the bourgeois left.
And when he thinks of the plight of men in America, it brings him to tears.
Every time the topic comes up, it breaks me up because it's so damn sad.
It could be that we live in an increasingly socially dysfunctional society. Maybe the record divorce rate, male suicide rate, and the number of lonely spinsters with cats would suffice as evidence. I do have a couple of Pew studies that discuss the topic, and for millennials, the numbers are shockingly bad, but I'm honestly saving those studies for another video.
He says that white privilege doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think the idea of white privilege is absolutely reprehensible.
It doesn't exist. Asians are more productive and successful than whites on average in America in nearly every single way you can imagine. Marriage, education, wealth, career, waiting to have children until already married. I'm not even bothering to look up the Pew studies for this either. I mean, maybe I will. I don't know. I'm going to do a video at some fucking point on immigration in East Asians. You can Google the research or just wait for that fucking video because the evidence is overwhelming. White privilege is demonstrably false unless you actually mean productivity or success in life, in which case Asians are more white than whites. Go hash that out with the alt-right, because I don't have a problem with people being successful based on hard work.
That women in gender studies courses should be defunded.
Why the hell are we subsidizing revolution? It's crazy, and it's dangerous.
Jordan Peterson has hammered this point since he became famous, and he's absolutely right. Racial, gender, and the social sciences in universities should be defunded. I'm just waiting for conservatives to realize that passing tax cuts isn't their only function in life, which, based on recent events, is never. So my hope is that eventually enough dissident leftists like myself rise up to save the left from itself.
And that it's better for trans people if we don't use the pronouns that they prefer.
I am not going to be a mouthpiece for language that I detest, and that's that.
It's about compelled speech, you beta dipshit. All right, this is getting tedious. Either make a point, or I'm just playing Sargon's response to this.
His name is Jordan Peterson, and his influence is gaining rapidly. His latest book was at the top of the Amazon bestseller list, and his YouTube channel has 700,000 subscribers. But according to him and conservative writers across the country, no one knows what he stands for. Okay, so what does Jordan Peterson believe? For that, let's take a look at his new book called 12 Rules for Life. The book lays out simple rules for personal accountability. Stand up straight, tell the truth, be precise in your speech. It's pretty basic self-help stuff, a lot of which is about how to get girls. But then, underneath all that, are his politics. Peterson, who's usually pretty lucid, believes in a paranoid conspiracy popular on the far right. He believes our cultural institutions are run by a cabal of radical Marxists who want to destroy Western civilization.
How is that a conspiracy theory? I mean, I wouldn't call it a cabal, I would call it a movement of radical Marxists, who are often openly radical Marxists, who openly oppose what they call the patriarchy, who openly oppose capitalism, who openly oppose the existence of the nation state, who want to import millions of immigrants, who actively wants to undermine the economic systems in our countries and tear down what they call, quote-unquote, oppressive institutions. Where is the conspiracy theory?
This fictional conspiracy used to be called cultural Marxism. Peterson calls it postmodernism.
It's not a conspiracy. The professors in the social sciences are overwhelmingly Marxists, social constructivists, far leftists, and generally revolutionaries. They view everything that makes the West as illegitimate and want to tear it all down.
Take Peterson's belief about women and gender studies departments at universities. Those departments don't really want women's equality in our society and in the workplace. No. They want to destroy the Western world intentionally as part of a Marxist revenge plot.
They produce political activists, and their goal is to restructure the patriarchy. Well, what's the patriarchy? Well, the patriarchy is Western civilization. And what does restructure mean? That's easy. It means tear it down and destroy it.
How the fuck is that not true? Hold on, let me check in with some gender studies students for a quote.
It is our duty to fight for freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and protect one another.
We must love and protect one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains. Ashe.
Now there's an interesting paraphrase quote. Who are these revolutionaries quoting? Well, that would be convicted cop killer and lunatic racial identitarian Assata Shakur. And where did she get that phrase from? Oh, well, that would be the Angles translation of the Communist Manifesto. But please, do tell me how these people screaming Karl Marx quotes at the top of their lungs aren't a bunch of fucking lunatics seeking to overthrow liberal nations.
In Professor Peterson's world, the hierarchies that have put men at the top are important. They come from nature, and they're not to be disturbed. One thing he's obsessed with, for example, is lobsters.
Okay, you're getting really tedious with this bullshit.
As in, lobsters have gender hierarchy, and you wouldn't say that lobsters oppress their women, would you?
That's one of the things that made him so popular among, young right-wing reactionaries, is that he's advocating for these really fixed ideas of gender that line up with their anxieties about masculinity.
The far right loves Jordan Peterson, but Peterson doesn't want alienated young men to become radical fringe right-wingers. In fact, he sees himself as a path away from all that.
Many people write me from the right or from the fringes of the radical right, saying precisely that listening to my lectures stopped them from going all the way.
So allow me to quote you.
This is the far right's new philosopher superstar.
Which is it? Because it can't be both. He can't be both talking down the far right and also the biggest fan. If he draws people from the right to the center, he's not a mouthpiece of the far right. The problem I think you have is that these right-wingers aren't becoming far leftists, which would advantage you rather than Peterson.
Ultimately, Peterson tells young men that if someone else has a problem with your place in the hierarchy, they're either conspiring to destroy Western civilization, or they're just whining.
He's basically saying that there are those of us who have high IQs or who are very physically strong or whatever, naturally should have access to greater resources, to more control over our communities. He questions the idea that we should live in an egalitarian society.
As the demand for egalitarianism and the eradication of masculinity accelerates, there's going to be a longing in the unconscious for the precise opposite of that, right? The more you scream for equality, the more your unconscious is going to admire dominance.
So this is where we're going to stop, because none of you fucking clowns at Mike have the philosophical or psychological depth necessary to explain why Peterson is wrong. You don't even bother to give a single reason why Peterson is wrong to say that. You offer a clip of him making an assertion, and that's it. That's not any kind of fucking argument. So let's cap this shit video off with the following.
Jesus, Jack, look at those skinny fucking jeans. Can you even walk upstairs? How do you manage it? And a leather jacket to boot. You're an amusing little creature, aren't you, Jack?
Moving on, we have a longer segment from Vice, which in many ways is a bloodbath, similar to the Newman interview.
After his sold-out show in New York, I met Dr. Peterson at his home in Toronto. We started off discussing his work, but the conversation quickly veered into something else.
So we already have to stop. You're the interviewer. You directed the conversation. Peterson didn't come to you and ask you questions or tell you what he wanted to discuss. You went to him. Don't pretend as though this heavily edited piece of shit video is somehow on him. This is your interview. You asked the questions and you published the edited answers he gave.
Who is the target audience? Who are you trying to reach?
Well, partly me, and then partly people who feel that there might be more in them than they're currently manifesting. People who've been fed a nauseating saccharine diet of rights and freedoms for like 50 years with no counterbalance of responsibility. And most people find almost all the genuine meaning in their life in the adoption of responsibility.
It seems to me that there's sort of two versions of you that are floating around.
Mm-hmm.
The one is the scholarly work that you've done over your career.
Yeah.
And then there's this online version. I mean, do you feel split at all right now?
Fragmented is more accurate than just split. The political split that you're talking about is the humanities at the universities have become intolerably corrupt.
Get off it.
They don't teach people to read. They don't teach them to think. They don't teach them to speak. They don't have them read great works.
Get off it.
They've become indoctrination factories for a social justice ideology.
Get off it.
I have a personal theory that I wanted to run by you, and it is that college right now and universities are their own ecosystem, and that professors and students both have been sort of trapped in a war of ideas, as you put it, that keeps escalating. But that once you walk outside the gates of that university, that it seems very contained to the university.
You know those illegal quota systems at certain universities that discriminate based on race? Well, they exist at massive billion-dollar corporations. The question isn't if social justice discrimination exists in the private sector, it's to what extent does it exist?
What I don't see is sort of this sort of veering towards apocalypse.
Oh yeah, it's spreading into HR, into corporations throughout the U.S. through HR departments. Very, very rapidly.
In what ways, though? In a way that is not sort of like, hey, how about you not grab like the ass of your coworker?
NBC is regulating hugging,
and so is Disney.
And not only that,
do you not feel like that was out of a response of these sorts of stories, like of generations of men sort of taking advantage?
It's not easy to solve a complicated problem, and like ready-made ideological solutions don't work. They just make it worse.
But come on, that's just like a maxim. You're not actually addressing the question, which is like, isn't there harm that is trying to be solved?
There isn't a question. There's a set of questions, and no one's posing them. Here's a question: can men and women work together in the workplace?
Yes, I do it.
How do you know?
Because I work with a lot of women.
Vice Media has a long and well-documented history as being a terrible environment for women.
Right. Well, it's been happening for, 40 years? And things are deteriorating very rapidly at the moment in terms of the relationships between men and women. Is there sexual harassment in the workplace? Yes.
Look at that fucking editing! I'm going to mute the video, and I want you to watch Peterson's demeanor change from completely passive to intense and aggressive. What I want to hear is what the interviewer said between those two clips, because obviously whatever it was angered Peterson.
Should it stop? That'd be good. Will it? Well, not at the moment it won't, because we don't know what the rules are.
Do you think men and women can work in the workplace together?
I don't know.
Without sexual harassment?
We'll see.
We'll see. How many years will it take for men and women working in the workplace together?
More than 40.
To get a sense.
What's amazing about this question is one of the obvious flaws of the office space is proximity to the opposite sex. At one point, when I was still a guard working in an office building, all of my coworkers were women. All of them were either my age or younger. One of them hit on me, I hit on another of them, and that happened in the time frame of weeks. If you are single and in direct proximity of an attractive person for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you will eventually flirt with them. It is inhuman to expect men to not flirt with women when around them constantly. That doesn't mean men should be pushy or harassing, but if men see an obvious opportunity to have a girlfriend, they're going to make a play for it. I have friends whose parents met at work. I have friends who met their girlfriend or spouse at work. If you force young single people into the workforce and they interact with attractive members of the opposite sex all fucking day, the effect is simple biology. The fact is that there's no fixing this.
We don't know what the rules are. Like what? Here's a rule.
Don't
How about no makeup in the workplace?
Why would that be a rule?
Why should you wear makeup in the workplace? Isn't that sexually provocative?
No.
It's not?
No.
Well, what is it then? What's the purpose of makeup?
Some people would like to just put on makeup.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why do you make your lips red? Because they turn red during sexual arousal. That's why.
Fact.
Why do you put rouge on your cheeks? Same reason.
Fact.
I mean, look.
How about high heels?
What
are they
what
for?
about high heels?
What about them? They're there to exaggerate sexual attractiveness. That's what high heels do.
Fact. That's a fact. That's a fact, Nat. That's a fact. You know.
Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't use sexual displays in the workplace. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that that is what they're doing. And that is what they're doing.
What's amazing to me about what Peterson is saying is how unbelievable the results are from the studies on the issue of women's fashion choices. So much of it is explained by biology and not culture. So as it relates to the workplace and corporate dress codes, why is it that fashion accessories that specifically accentuate women's attractiveness are totally permissible in just about every workplace?
Do you feel like a serious woman who does not want sexual harassment in the workplace, do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that.
That is a very serious question that should be included if we're going to talk about policing workplace behavior.
One of the things that you've talked about is that a lot of times you talk to these young men who are sort of flirting with far-right ideologies and you try and bring them back. Like, what is that process like? How do you bring someone back from the far right?
Tell them a better story.
What is the better story?
Grow the hell up. Take your place in the world. You've got something to contribute. Make a plan. Live as an individual. Stay away from the identity politics pathology. It's just an excuse for failing to live your life in a respectable and noble manner. It's a way better story than like go wave your idiot far-right flag at some rally with a bunch of pasty-faced morons. What kind of pathetic behavior is that? So it's time to grow the hell up.
Are you worried at all that you're sort of attracting a crowd that you might not want to attract?
What kind of fucking question is that? No, let's not try to provide the Nazis a means to be anything other than a useless dreg that spends every waking moment online being unproductive. Let's not try to pull them back from being a fucking lunatic because they're a human being that's gone down the wrong path. Jesus Christ. What kind of Stalinist thinking do you have to not understand the importance of trying to get fanatics to reconsider their worldview to one that fits neatly within our liberal societies?
No, I'm not. I'm worried always that I'll make a mistake in what I say. No, impulsive mistake, careless mistake, that I won't be on top of things in a combative interview, that sort of thing. And then I'll make a mistake. I've been worried about that almost to the exclusion of everything else for the last 15 months. But I'm not worried about the impact of what I'm doing because the evidence is overwhelming that it's positive.
Thank you.
So that's all I have time to cover for now, but I highly doubt this will be the last time I talk about Peterson on my channel because, like I said when I started this commentary, he's only getting more and more popular, and the progressives can't stand that fact. Thanks for listening. So we're at the end of the video, and I'm just going to thank my top contributors at the $25 level. That would be Winnie C, Fat Cat, FarSquawk, and as I said at the beginning, the legendary Zoltan. And at the $15 amount, it's going to be Matt D, Will M, Luykus, and Isaac O. And so thanks to all of you that support my channel at that amount, and thanks to everyone that supports my channel. I didn't even realize until right at the very end that somebody with this kind of like, I don't want to say ridiculous because that comes off as critical, but a really over-the-top kind of name such as the legendary Zoltan. I saw that and I just laughed the first time I saw it, and I just saw it. I realized somebody had, you know, became a Patreon supporter, but I didn't realize that that was your name. So I laughed when I saw it, and I decided, oh man, that's too good. I got to take advantage of that when I record this. But yeah, this video was not so much a long time in the making, but it took me a little while to actually script out, and I can't actually predict how long it's going to be. I'm thinking around 30 minutes. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm hoping that this satisfied enough people for this month, because this month for me has been brutal. In the last week, I worked 70 hours nonstop. I worked a case. I don't know if I should say this or not because I can get in trouble, but I basically left the case, and I could have stayed, and I don't want to, you know, say much more than that. But the reason I left was because, like, I got home at like 7, and I had to go to bed by 9. They expected me up and to have all my reports done and fucking everything by 6 a.m. You know, I got up at 5 and went to my next case, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, you know, they wanted to keep me out there until 9 o'clock, and it was an hour and a half away from where I live. And it's like, you want me to drive back, go to bed at like 10-something, 11-something, have none of my reports done. I had 2 due the next day. I had nothing done. You want not only that done, but you want me up at fucking 5 in the morning and go to the next case. Like, I can't do it. You know, unfortunately, my job for February has been fucking insane, and it hasn't really left me a lot of time to work on the content that I'd like to, and I'm really backed up as it relates to, you know, articles that I need to get through and the rest of that. But outside of that complaining, I'd like to thank every one of my supporters and my subscribers. It's been actually a very good month for me. My numbers are all up. Subscribers are up. Views are up. Support on Patreon and Maker Support and my affiliates are all up. All my numbers are up. So February for me has been a great month, despite my fucking complaining with my job. It's been a great month for me. And I know that I could honestly put out more content despite my job, but overall I'm very satisfied where I am. I have all this fucking content that is just sitting there waiting to be edited and put up. It's unfortunate. Today I got this video. I'm going to fucking do everything I can to get this video up tonight. It's going to take a lot. But yeah, unfortunately for me, it's just a matter of all the content in the world, all the topics in the world, but I just don't have enough time, and I'm hoping that fucking March, if I have to, I'll start taking time off from work, just so I can actually focus on this channel a little bit, because, you know, the time is now to strike when it's hot. My channel's doing well. You know, obviously I'm not at fucking 100,000 subscribers or some shit, but it's doing better than it normally is, so that's the time you should actually put in the fucking work. But my job is getting in the way of that. But that is enough complaining for now. Outside of that, it's all positive. And I'd like to thank all of you for watching this video, supporting my channel, and hopefully in the near future I can capitalize on the insane, you know, numbers that my channel has generated. You know, I'm about to hit 2 million views overall. My video that I did that got taken down, YouTube put it back up, was fully cooperative. That is about to hit 100K, which is my first fucking video to hit 100K views. So everything is going in my direction right now. You know, obviously things could be better in terms of channel growth, but fucking who cares? You know, I'm making more money. I got more people following me. You know, content's going up. I'm doing well. Everything's in the positive. So, you know, I'm not really in any position to complain. I'm just happy to be where I am. I'm happy that those of you are enjoying the content I'm putting up and supporting my channel in return. So everything's good, and I'm hoping that maybe I will do that. Maybe I'll put in for some time off next month. So that way I can dedicate more time to doing some crazy shit that I don't normally do. And I just literally got a call. I gotta fucking go. So thank you for listening.